Thank you for listening to the BjjBrick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back, my friends, to episode 117 of the BjjBrick Podcast. I'm Gary, and I got my partner in crime, Byron, here. How are you doing, Byron?
Gary, I'm doing great. Happy to be here today, talking about jiu-jitsu with my friend Gary. And great day. We're going to have Guybson on the show for an interview today.
Yep, Guybson is a MMA and jiu-jitsu expert. Holds victories over Jeff Munson, Hector Lombard. Anybody who can put that on their resume is pretty top shelf there. Yep,
and he really during the interview he'll stress like focusing on the basics and getting good at those, and he doesn't have he runs his own school. He doesn't have like a huge school and a huge place with 1 million people to train with that are all like elite guys, and gals, but he's got his students there, and he's training hard, and he's winning accomplishing some incredible things. So it's a very interesting conversation with Guybson.
Yep, that's what focusing on the basics does for you. Puts you in position to win.
You're right about that, Gary.
I'm right about a couple things. Not very much, but every now and then.
How's your weekend going, Gary?
Busy weekend. Wrestling tournaments, but the good thing is I didn't have to work today, so I'll take wrestling tournaments all day long over that.
Well, there you go. And Gary does a lot of things at wrestling tournaments, but he's also he's in charge of security over there, or he helps with security, So if you get a little unruly in a Kansas tournament, there's a good chance you're going to run into Gary.
Yep, just look for the guy on the Segway who crashes into the wall. That would be me, Paul Blart.
Paul Blart. You got to get special wheels for the Segway to be on the mats and not damage the mats.
Yeah, yep, that's what. Or we could just get a hoverboard.
Yeah, you got to try one of those.
Yep.
I don't even know anybody who owns one, but we'll have to try that, and we'll put that on YouTube's.
Yeah, that could. We better make sure our health insurance is paid up.
There we go. Always good advice, Gary, for any time you're going to do something dangerous, is have your health insurance ready to go. Could save you thousands of dollars.
Yes, yep.
Speaking of saving thousands of dollars, I got a quote for us today, Gary.
Oh, boy, what do you got?
Well, I guess it would be a way you could save thousands of dollars, but it doesn't matter how slowly you go, as long as you don't stop. Confucius.
Confucius say that quote?
Something like that.
Yep. No, I mean, I really think that is the key. You just don't quit. Think, talk about jiu-jitsu. Think about the person who started 15 years ago. He may not train every day, may not train twice a day, may only train once or twice a week, but does not quit, does not stop. And that person is going to have a high skill level. Just keep plugging away. Don't ever stop.
I think in a little while we'll get to our article of the week, and it's similar to this, like how important it is to be consistent and keep going. And in jiu-jitsu, I think part of the problem with people stopping is they feel they hit like a plateau, and sometimes you hit a plateau, it could last a week, a month, or the better part of almost a year, and it feels like I'm not getting any better. I'm continuing to go and to train and to try to learn things, but I'm not getting any better. And I think some people will drop off at that point. Or they'll get their blue belt and they'll think, well, I've hit the peak. I'm not going to get any better than I am right now. And they get demotivated, and that's it. And they kind of drop off. But just staying consistent, to keep going, even if it's slow, you're still making progress. It's hard to measure the progress of your jiu-jitsu because it's not like you're jumping higher or lifting more weight. It's jiu-jitsu. It's hard to quantify what you're doing.
Yep, and you're going against the same guys who are learning the same stuff as you. You're in the gym with them every day. They know your moves. You guys all learn the moves together. So it is tougher to pull it off, but you are learning. I mean, everybody's going to learn at a different pace. Everybody has different attributes. Some people are older, not in as great a shape. They're probably going to learn a little bit slower. But just keep going at it. We're all going to get to that point. It doesn't matter if I run a marathon in, 2.5 hours or 5 hours. we all covered the same distance. It just took me a little bit longer, but I got there too. And that's the key. We're all going to get there if we don't stop, if we keep going.
Yeah, and it's important to not, like you said about the marathon, you don't need to compare yourself with your teammates, your classmates. This is your journey. You're the one that's able to affect your jiu-jitsu the most. Just keeping with it there, and not being demotivated by sometimes the success of others around you. Maybe you've been training for 6 months and some guy comes in and in 2 months in, they're performing better than you at many things. I can understand how that could be frustrating. Just keep going. You know, your progress may be a little bit slow for a while. Just keep going. And that's the benefit of, just like that quote, even slow progress is progress. But a lot of times with, maybe a lack of progress in your jiu-jitsu, sometimes, I think people, especially in the first year or so, get wrapped up in doing the wrong things. They'll have a game that is taking them away from the basics, the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. And so in my audiobook, which is $11.99 and helps support the show, we have chapter 4, techniques and positions to focus on. It's a little over an hour long, this chapter 4 here. The whole book is like 2.5 hours or so, but this chapter itself is a little over an hour, and I'm going to just basically talk to you about the different positions and then the techniques and stuff from those that you should be working on. Really, my goal is to help you avoid things that aren't like necessarily too complicated, but may not fit well in your game long term. Like, if you learn the basics at the beginning, and then you want to learn something off of those, that's there. But if you were learning like some already tangent technique that's off the side of the basics, and really you don't have a good path to that, or it's 3 or 4 years on the road, that's really not part of your game, well then that time really wasn't spent very well helping you develop your game. So I really, in this chapter 4 of our audiobook, Your First Year of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I really want to help you stay on track, stay focused on developing the proper techniques and positions during this early time of your training.
Man, like everything we're talking about, the quote, kind of what you were just talking about there, and our article, it's all, it all just boils down to consistency. And like I said, we'll get to the article a little bit later, but it really is just stay consistent. Know what you should be learning. Like you said in the audiobook, chapter 4, focus on the basics. And basically that goes back to our article of the week this week. And it's really not that hard. Focus on the basics, stay consistent, stay healthy. You're going to get there, and just keep plugging away.
Yeah, this article is how to stay consistent in your jiu-jitsu journey. Gary, where's this article found?
This how to stay consistent in your jiu-jitsu journey. It is actually found on the BjjBrick.com site. So go to BjjBrick.com and read this. We probably won't even put it in the show notes since it's going to be on our page.
Absolutely. This article was written by a guest post by Evie Dawson. She emailed me and wanted to know if I would be happy to publish this. I said, absolutely. So just a little reminder, if you have the passion in your heart to write an article but not don't have your own website, send me an email at bjjbrick@gmail.com and we'll be happy to work with you. But this is a really nice article that's helping you stay consistent in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and basically, what Evie says is, it's a sport, which works on the concept that a weak or smaller person can defend himself from an attacker using proper techniques. But we need to stay consistent. We need to stay healthy to get to that part. And, she gives, really 10 different tips, how to stay consistent. And, number one is health is wealth. And the number one priority is health, proper nutrition. As much stress as we're putting our body under, we are working out hard. We need that nutrition, basically good solid foods, a balanced diet to keep us going, to keep us recovering so that we can keep getting on the mat. So definitely make sure you eat a good healthy diet. Yeah,
and going down the list here, distraction is her number 3 thing. It's a major obstacle. So this is basically anything off the mat that's going to take you away. And sometimes it's valid, like some event in your life demands your attention, yes, take care of that. But try to arrange things in a way where you're still able to keep a positive attitude and maintain some mat time and get anything negative about, like, oh, I'm missing it. I'm really not going to be able to catch up to where I'm at, and those sort of attitudes. Get rid of those, and don't let any off the mat distractions take you away from your long term goal of jiu-jitsu and the benefits that it will bring you.
Another one I like a lot, kind of goes with the nutrition aspect, is number 2, sound sleep. The way our body recovers is through nutrition and sleep. And a lot of times, in busy lifestyles, and one thing a lot of times we give up our nutrition and we give up our sleep. But that's definitely going to affect us on the mat. We're not going to be sharp on the mat. We're not going to have the cardio on the mat that we normally would have, and we're not going to recover. So definitely proper rest, 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night is important. Take naps if you have to, but sleep is a key cog of maintaining your good health. So definitely make sure you get some sleep.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, okay, sleep, help me stay consistent. Just, yes, if it keeps you from getting ill once a year, if you'd be sick for 4 days and you could have maybe been healthier if you would have had sleep. Yeah. Gary, how often do you get 9 to 10 hours of sleep?
Never.
Me neither. I'm a good 6.5, 7.5 if I'm lucky.
Yeah, I would love to get 9 to 10. Well, actually, I don't even know if I could sleep that long, but sleep is very, very important for your body.
Yeah.
So try to get as much sleep as possible.
Yeah. And point number 5 she has is hygiene above all. And this, again, it sounds like, well, why is hygiene? Hygiene may be a polite thing to do, to come in and not, smell kind of funky and to be clean. But really, hygiene, it'll help get rid of the chances of staph infections or getting a ringworm or some of the skin condition to where you have to spend time off the mat. It'll affect your consistency. So having good hygiene, washing your gi every time that you train, and making sure that it's very very dry very quickly with and keeping things sanitary is a big deal to your long term training and to being able to train on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that goes back to what we were talking about, distraction. Basically, next thing you know, you get ringworm. That's a distraction. You're off the mat, and every time you're off the mat, it's a little bit harder to get back onto the mat. So definitely, it's going to keep you training. One I really like is what number is it? It is number 8. Being flexible helps you stay consistent in the sport. Flexibility is huge. We're going to get put in bad positions. We're going to be stacked. We're going to have our legs and arms twisted in different directions. We're going to have our neck, twisted in different directions. We need to be flexible. Being flexible is going to help us stay injury free. Flexibility and mobility will help improve our performance. So definitely make sure you spend time being flexible. Make sure you stretch. Make sure you dynamic stretch, static stretch to get you to a good flexibility level.
Yeah, I like number 9 is exercise, but in the right direction. There are limitations to when you could train jiu-jitsu, I would say, for almost everybody who trains that is not professional. I can't train, like right now, it's like 5:45 on a Saturday afternoon. There's nowhere to train. I can't train jiu-jitsu now. So if this is my only free time to exercise, I need to do that anyway. If you're not able to train at the times that training is available, still exercise. This will help bring your health up in general. Having your health up high will help you be consistent when training times are available. So there's no excuse. Just because you miss jiu-jitsu doesn't mean you can't exercise that day. And try to be working out, 4 to 7 times a week, really, depending on what your body can handle. But so you usually go to jiu-jitsu 4 times. You miss one, you should still be exercising that other time at least. So. And I know Gary's great at this. He's always working out. If he misses a day on the mat, he's going to work out for sure.
Yeah, I find if I work too much time on the mat, kind of leads to injuries for me. So I found out 2 to 3 times a week is best for me on the mat. But all the other days, I'm making sure I'm doing some sort of exercise. It allows me to stay strong, flexible, mobile, keeps my cardio up, but allows me to recover a little bit better. So, and plus, I find myself, and everybody's different. I find myself, if I don't train 7 days a week, if I only train 2 or 3 days a week, man, I'm excited each time I train, and that excitement leads to, I think I learn and retain stuff better that way too. So, but I really like to work out on the side, and I think that's one of the things that keeps me going really good in jiu-jitsu. But definitely check out this article, How to Stay Consistent in Your Jiu-Jitsu Journey. It is posted on the BjjBrick Facebook page, and it's from one of our listeners, Evie Dawson. She's a fitness coach and health writer in Boston, Massachusetts. And first of all, I do want to say thank you so much for giving us this article and letting us share it with our listeners. And anybody else, I know we've said this before, but if you have an article or anything, send it to us. Let us take a look at it. We'll talk about it on air. We'll share it. And we always appreciate anybody who lends anything to the show.
Absolutely. So, you don't have to she wrote an article for our website, which was really nice of her. But if you have a website and you write an article, send it to us. We'd love to cover it. If you don't have a website, send us the article anyway, and we'll be happy to post it for you if that's what you like. So, win-win.
Yep, and if you have a website, we'll tell people what your website is. We'll direct people there. So we want everybody to learn, and they're going to learn from your website too. So sharing is caring, right, Byron?
That's what the Care Bears told me.
As long as Care Bears are always right.
That's why I have the Care Bear gi patch, Gary, my friend.
Care Bear gi patch.
Yeah.
I think it's time to get on our interview with Guybson Saw.
Here we go.
Diary of the World's Most Interesting Grappler. This is a reading from my diary. As I made my way to the North Pole, my goal was to find a place up there to train. For this is one of the few places on my map that I have never trained. Please forgive my lack of journal entries over the last few days. I believe that I am on day 20 of my journey to the North Pole. I've been on high alert because a polar bear has been following me. I can tell that he is stalking me, and I'm considering faking an injury to encourage an attack, because this might be my best chance to grapple in this barren wasteland. I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BjjBrick Podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to welcome Guybson Saw to the BjjBrick Podcast. Guybson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Byron. I'm glad to be here, man.
We're happy to have you. You're a competitor in Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, and we're excited to have you on the show and learn a little bit from you and learn what you're up to. Could you give us a little bit of maybe a personal history about your Jiu-Jitsu career and your MMA, and just introduce yourself to the audience a little bit if you could?
Sure. I'm a second-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training since 4 years old. I'm 27 years old now. Born in Fortaleza, Ceará. Trained with my father and my brother, Francisco Sá and Professor Sazinho. And in Jiu-Jitsu, I'm two-time world champion, national champion in Brazil and the U.S., ADCC absolute champion for the qualifiers on the nationals. In MMA, I'm currently 3-2, my record at 205 light heavyweight, and I currently fighting for an organization in South Carolina called Conflict, which I'm the light heavy champion now. So I think that's pretty much it.
Wow, that's you have a long history of martial arts and training, and you started when you were 4 years old?
Yes, just my father was a BJJ red belt, at the time he was a black belt, but it pretty much, that was my first sport, and started it from home, so it was since a young kid, started with break falls and basic stuff, but I started to take it more serious when I was 13 years old, training 2-3 times a day. Since then, I haven't stopped, training on that rhythm.
Where did you grow up?
In Fortaleza, Brazil. It's a city in the northeast. There's actually a lot of lot of good jiu-jitsu fighters and MMA fighters from there. My father was one of the pioneers in the state. You know, he was the guy that made jiu-jitsu big in there. He had over 25,000 students, you know. And my brother's the highest ranked belt over there now. He's a 7th degree quarter belt. And it's a cool city, man. It's very beautiful. It's on the beach, you know. And has a lot of, like I said, a lot of good jiu-jitsu there.
Cool. And now you're in the United States?
Yes, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina now. When I came in 2009 and I went to Syracuse, New York, and in 2011 I relocated to South Carolina. So that's what I've been since then.
And how has your training been going in South Carolina? South Carolina
it's kind of hard for me to train personally, you know, because it's not like a lot of jiu-jitsu here. And, you know, I own my own gym, so I teach to my own students, and our highest belts are like blue belts, you know. We just have our first purple belts. But, you know, I'm able to train. I just, you know, it's not like I have 10 black belts to train every day, you know. But it's still like, this year, you know, 2015, I won PANS Nationals and, 3rd place in the world, you know. So, I think when these guys start getting even better, I'll have a better training, you know. But you know, mostly of my training was done in Brazil. That's where I learned everything, you know. Here is more like a, you know, adaptation to the. It's kind of like a different game, you know. In Brazil, people don't train no-gi much, so that's one of the things that I got better here.
Do you do MMA? Do you when you're getting ready for a fight? Do you put the gi away, or do you always keep the gi?
No, I train with gi. I train with gi every day.
Okay.
You know, I like to train with gi, and I think when you train with gi towards the MMA preparation, it's almost like a relaxing time of your training. You know what I mean? Because you always sparring, you always training no gi, which is a lot more rough. So when you put the gi on, you really work on your technique. You know, it's not like you're gonna be you know, using that stressful training all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like to train with the gi a lot.
Do you change, like if you're training for a very difficult gi tournament, do you train differently in the gi versus when you're training, like you got an MMA fight 2 weeks away? Are you not using some grips that you would maybe use in a gi tournament, or do you just train?
It kind of varies, like, because I try to, you know, stay training gi and no gi consistently. So I train the same way throughout the whole year. When MMA comes, you know, like 3-4 months before the fight, then I start focusing a little bit more on my striking, you know. But I don't, like, before the MMA fights, I don't take anything away from jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Like, I stay training gi, training no gi, and you know, like I said, the only thing that increases the striking part, you know. I think, you know, my biggest weapon in MMA is jiu-jitsu, so I just always got to keep, you know, getting better on it.
Yeah, I like that idea of getting better at what you're.
And it's fun. Like you can spar like in jiu-jitsu and no-gi every day. You can spar MMA every day. You know what I mean? You get a lot of injuries, concussion. You know, it doesn't matter what you do on day sparring. Even in light sparring, you always you know, get a little roughed up.
Yeah, you've got a lot of matches in jiu-jitsu. Can you maybe tell me about some of your favorite wins that you've had? And you've had some pretty big, you've beaten some pretty big name guys.
Yeah, I think, like, you know, it's been like a while, but it's a lot of people talk about it. You know, I think Rodolfo and BjjBrick was like the biggest ones. You know, the guys are like the best in the world right now. You know, and it's both of them almost unbeatable. And BjjBrick was actually by submission. You know, which was cool. In 2007 and 2009, and last year I tapped Jeff Monson in the nationals for the Abu Dhabi, and this year I tapped Hector Lombard, you know, which is a guy that never been submitted in 42 MMA fights, you know. So it's pretty cool. But I think right now I'm trying to chase more titles than the big names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's those guys is I think sometimes I say I was lucky enough to fight them and beat them. But it's right now I want to focus. I was telling my wife about resolutions for 2016. I wanted to be back, to jiu-jitsu and compete on the higher level. This year, I don't even train as much as I wanted to. I trained a lot, but not as much as I wanted to. And I still, like I said, was able to be on the podium of the top black belts, So hopefully this year will be even better, 2016.
Yeah.
I was ranked, in October, I was ranked number 1 on the super heavy at the IBJJF, which, like I said, I haven't been on the competitions much. I only competed like 5 IBJJF competitions this year.
Could you maybe describe your style or your typical game plan when you're grappling?
I like to do everything, I like basics,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get excited about the new stuff, and think that things that are very, very modern, but I like to play basic, you know what I mean? Like if I play guard, I play guard very basically. If I play on top, it's, not too much fancy stuff, but mainly, as everybody know, I like to play bottom, close guard, De La Riva, spider, butterfly guard, anything that's basic and effective, I kind of help my students a little bit when they ask me questions about, beating bolo, warm guard, and everything. And I think it's not a waste of time, but I think if they learn what's basic and effective, they'll win a lot more matches than just focus in fancy stuff. That's what I believe.
Is that the kind of focusing on the basics? You've like tapping out Jeff Munson and Hector Lombardio. Those are really impressive accomplishments. Is it your basics that really helped with that, or?
Oh yeah. Both of them were rear naked chokes. Which that's one of the most used moves in MMA and jiu-jitsu. It's I think a lot of times, and it's not that I don't like. I like to see it when the guys are very good at it. But what frustrates me sometimes, it's that we go to competitions and, there's that blue belt over there that he's very good at doing beating bowl or warm guard or whatever, and the guy can't finish a cross choke. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, like I said, it feels like a waste of time to be working on all that stuff and forgetting what's effective, Just like, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. He does another martial art, and he was telling me, well, I think any jiu-jitsu guy can get beat up if he gets, punched or slapped or whatever. I was like, well, I don't believe my students that would happen with my students, but I kind of agree with you, because a lot of times that's what the guys are doing now, like working on beating ball and warm guard. They don't even know a basic self-defense move. They don't even know like how to apply a good takedown. So it's I don't know. I think some people are missing out on that, And plus, you're a blue belt. There's plenty of time for you to learn all that stuff, up to your black belt. I think I learned more after I got my black belt than any other belt.
Yeah, it's you're there for a while. That definitely makes it a lot of learning time, but it just seems to keep growing, and there's always. You say you're learning more, but like you're focusing on the basics, which is really impressive. That maybe you're learning at a deeper level versus a whole bunch of different techniques.
Yeah, it's I said it not too long. I say in class all the time that I've learned. Like I always did the grip, whenever we're standing or whatever, and my grip was always so tensed, So like my brother one time taught me like how to do the grip a little bit differently, and I kind of saw it, but I never really put in practice, never use it. So a couple of years ago I started using, like remembering that, and I was like, man, I should use this a little more. and it completely changed everything standing up. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you're always going to have those clicks. You know what I mean? You're always going to be learning something different. It might take time. So a lot of times people quit. A lot of times people get frustrated because they don't learn stuff quickly, you know. But it's not about being quick. It's about being, you know, about works. Is it going to work? You know, take your time and just make sure it works well. It's like anything that's good, you know, it takes time.
Yeah, it's a lot of times with today's modern ideas, people want things now. You know, I could order something online and get it tomorrow, and I could, you know, get my dinner in 5 minutes and this sort of thing. But jiu-jitsu is different than that. It takes time. It takes the
and it's
blood and
frustrating,
sweat.
man, because people think everything is like that. Like you said, you know, jiu-jitsu is different. You got to invest your time. You got to invest dedication, and it just you're not gonna get any better if you don't take your time in it. Yeah.
Can you think of a lesson you said when you were about 13 you kind of took jiu-jitsu more seriously? Can you think of something that or maybe a story that you could share of like learning something that back then that still sticks with you today?
Triangle chokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's you know, it's obviously my favorite move. As favorite submission, I guess. It is just, you know, triangle is about hips and like controlling that top leg, you know, the leg that goes across the neck or whatever. And I remember that I've always tried to do triangle, and there was this brown belt, and I kind of got it on him. I was a blue belt, and he was like, dude, your triangle is very good. I was actually a yellow belt, and the guy was very, you know, was like, your triangle is very good. You just gotta make sure that you use this and that. And as soon as the guy taught me the little detail of like turning the knee in, pushing the leg down, whatever, I was like, wow, this is gonna work. So, you know, like I wouldn't want to do any other submission. That was the only submission I wanted to do. So, you know, again, why not focus on triangle, armbar, cross chokes, kimuras, you know, from guard, and try to go for you know, a reverse binimbolo, de la riva, this and that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
How is when you're training, triangle choke for MMA, do you change anything with it, or do you set it up a little differently?
I do it the same way. Matter of fact, my last fight now, that's how I got the guy. You know, I threw a kick at him, and he kind of caught my leg. We went to the ground to stand up again. I went for guillotine, and then I missed the guillotine. I went on my guard. So right away, I locked the triangle and start, you know, pounding him from the guard, from inside the triangle. So it's a position that for MMA works well. You know, obviously I don't want to be on bottom with MMA, but, you know, because I lost the submission attempt for the guillotine, that's what I felt. So, and it works, you know, like I said, it works against white belts and it works against black belts, man. The same move.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it works with guys that are, you know, high level. Like I will go to nationals and pens and whatever. I still can get it. Obviously, they'll watch for it now, but you know, once in a while, I still can get it. It's not my to-go move anymore because people kind of like wait for it. You know.
Yeah, that speaks to what you're saying about the basic techniques. You go to a tournament, you'll see white belts doing triangles, and you'll see black belts doing triangles, and you'll see, you know, so every now and then you'll see somebody who's amazing at jiu-jitsu get caught in a triangle, and it's a great technique. It's a basic technique, and and you could work on it for 10 or 20 years and still get better at it a little bit at a time, and your triangle will just continue to get stronger for you.
Matter of fact, that's how Kron won his fight this morning, I think. He got the guy on the triangle, you know, and finished the guy in Japan.
Yeah. So you've had a really great year, you know, in 2015. A lot of good competitions, a lot of good things going on for you. What do you expect for 2016?
I hope to be better. You know, it's gonna be a busier year, definitely. I'm already planning on to do pens, nationals, and worlds of both gi and no gi. Then I gotta defend my title for the MMA on April 30th in Colombia. I'm gonna be having a baby, maybe in like July or June.
Congratulations!
Thank you. My wife's pregnant, so it's gonna be our first one. So it's gonna be a fun year, the only thing I really want, it's like I said, be able to compete on the biggest competitions. The first one of the year will be February 6th, which will be Atlanta Open. And then it starts, I think I'm gonna have a super fight in March. It's not decided yet whose opponent or whatever in Ohio. And I think for the first semester, I'm probably gonna do like 8 or 10 competitions, and we'll see about locally, because they have some Nagas in Atlanta and North Carolina, which it's a good competition to stay in the rhythm. IBJJF doesn't come much to the south. They only have in Florida and Atlanta, so it's kind of tough for me to travel, with the gym and the training and all that.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to have a great year, and I'm excited for you. You're having a baby, and
thank you.
July or June or July, is that what you said?
Yeah, it should be around June or July.
So this kind of puts you in a situation that your father was in, having kids and being and doing jiu-jitsu. Do you anticipate your child doing jiu-jitsu? And so what age will they start at, you think?
Definitely. It's almost like my wife doesn't. She likes more like Muay Thai, kickboxing. She trains at our gym too.
Wow.
She trained jiu-jitsu before. She's the one that always says, I can't wait to see him, if he's gi on or her with her gi on and whatever. So it's one is I'm not gonna, I never had pressure from home.
Okay.
My father never really pressured me to, you gotta go train, you gotta be a fighter like us, you gotta be a black belt or whatever. But it was always almost like a recreation, you know what I mean? Whatever we do, jiu-jitsu was involved, you know what I mean? So in, 2004, 2003, he put mats at our house, again, he stopped teaching, but he was like, you know what, I'm just gonna put some mats here at the house, and I'm going to start teaching you and your younger brother, that way you guys don't have to go all the way to your brother, because it was kind of far. And then it kind of sparked the motivation again, for us to be training. That's when I was 13, and that's the same thing that I want to do, I remember my first things learning, which was probably 4 or 5, it was break falls, and I still remember my father teach me. So it's kind of like a goal. I want to teach my kid the same thing,
Yeah.
Teach him the break falls, teach him the takedowns, and basic chokes, and make it fun, like I do with my students here. Our biggest program is kids. I have about 50 kids training, and it's all the kids are very, I push them when they get to competition time and everything, but it has to be fun for them. You know what I mean? It has to be something that they really enjoy it, and you're not teach them crap. There's a lot of times the guys want to just, have the gym as a playground. The kids don't learn jiu-jitsu. And a lot of times they want to be too serious, and the kids, just quit. They just don't, they're tired of it, So I think the kids it's a tough job, but, as long as they keep the passion for it, they'll go far,
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I picked up from you just now is that you enjoyed it as a kid, and it was almost seen as a recreational thing, that something you did for fun. So yes. If you had been pushed, you're going to compete, you've been training for a little while, and it's time to get up there and see how good you are and make you the best possible jiu-jitsu guy there is at your age, and skill level, that would have been maybe taking some of the fun out of it. And now as an adult, you may not be doing that. So I think that keeping it fun for your future child is definitely a way to, if they have any sort of interest in jiu-jitsu, to keep that interest going and to help them have a long and wonderful jiu-jitsu time.
Yeah. And a lot of times I love soccer. I used to love a lot more. I don't play here much because it's different. You don't play as much as you do in Brazil. So yeah. I used to love play soccer, and I used to just miss jiu-jitsu classes to go to play soccer, And my dad was like, man, you should be training, you could be good and whatever. And I was like, no, Daddy, I really like soccer, man. I can be a millionaire in soccer or whatever. It's like, dude, you're not going to be a soccer player. And then he used to make deals with me. I wanted to play as a goalie. So he was like, listen, if you train this whole month, I'll buy a pair of gloves for you. So I used to go and just train like 3 weeks. And I was like, you count my gloves? And I would stop for like 2 months, So, it was like I said, I didn't have to be there every day. I didn't have to be there, be training. But when I started to, I told my brother and him, I was like, man, I want to start competing. And then I start, competing and everything. And then they start pressuring me. You know what I mean? They said, listen, not pressuring, but saying, listen, now you are a competitor. You have a family name and, people going to want to beat you up because you're my brother or my son. So, make sure when you go to competitions, go prepared. You know what I mean? So I've always thought about that, Like in our city, our state over there, we're very respected. Sort of like the Gracies, because my dad is a pioneer, So the guys were like, they look up to us a lot. And, we try to always, have a good feedback, Got to go to the competition, got to go prepared.
Yeah. That's cool. And I'm looking forward to the way that your son or daughter turns out and how you're able to kind of share that legacy that your father has passed down to you onto the next generation. That's going to be exciting.
When I born in '88, right? So my older brother Sazinho, he's a 7th degree now. He just got it. He got his black belt in '85. So when I born, my brother was already a black belt. When my brother born in '64, my daddy was a black belt in '59. So when he born, my daddy was already a black belt, So now my kid, my daughter, my son, we don't know yet, When he born or her born, I'm already going to be a black belt. So it's going to be a kind of cool, good lineage and all that. So I tell my wife all the time, she wants a boy too. But I told her, we got to have a boy to keep the legacy alive, Got to be the next warrior.
You mentioned that training there, you don't have a whole bunch of black belts like you did back in Brazil to train with and to help help you get better. So you have a lot of blue belts or as your training partners. How do you train with them and continue to get better and to advance your game?
I try. One of the things I try to do a lot is, try to do training out of the gym, like, do like a little functional training or a little conditioning. So it helps just to stay, ready or whatever. But in training, what I do a lot, it's king of the hill or, person in the middle. So I'm the guy that stays in the middle and, just let the students come in, practice, techniques that I'm weak at it. And, I try to use a lot of the techniques that I'm good at it just to get better on them, I try to train, mostly in the morning because most of my classes are at night. So, I leave the end of the day for MMA sparring or jiu-jitsu sparring, but mostly of my training is in the morning, on the morning class. And, it's tough, but like I have fun because while I'm training, I'm seeing my students getting better, So it's not like I'm just focused on me anymore.
Yeah.
It used to be just, go to the gym and only have to focus worry about me. But because my students know my games so well, because they train with me every day, they already know how to counter, they already know how to defend a lot of stuff that I do, which makes me, go to different routes, do different things. So it's, I guess, I used to talk about with my brother all the time when I was in Syracuse, because it was the same way. I didn't have students, and I used to ask him, I was like, but dude, Roger Gracie, man, he's, he trains just like, he wins all these absolute at the world, and he only trains with his students, And the thing is, like, the guy do the same thing, he sits down and he drills with his students, and, he gets beat up by them all the time, put himself in bad positions. So it's kind of like what I do, but I'm not Roger Gracie yet. It'll take a while.
Guybson, what do you do before a match? Like, let's say you've got a match that's going to start in 10 minutes. What are you doing to kind of just get ready and get in the zone?
First thing I do is get a good playlist on my phone. I like to listen to music a lot before matches. I stay hydrated. I don't drink much water like 10 minutes before the fight, but I try to just kind of like keep my mouth moisture so I don't get dried in during the match. And warm up very well. I didn't used to do that. I've lost a lot of matches because that. I just stretch a little bit. I didn't even use to warm up. I would just go in, shake hands, and then during the match I would warm up. You know what I mean? Because I would think like, no, I don't want to burn my energy or whatever. But now I warm up very, very well before the matches. You know what I mean? So like my goal is to walk into the mat like sweating already. If I'm sweating, it means I'm ready. So I just that's two of the things that I try to focus. I don't stretch much. Obviously 10 minutes before the match, and just focusing what I'm gonna do. A lot of people try to focus on what the opponent's gonna do. I try to focus more on what I'm gonna do. Be first.
Yeah, that's a great. Being first is a great way to start any combat sport, I think. So I'm looking at when I'm training. Some of my best time on the mat is when I'm sweaty, when I'm a little bit like, maybe in 2 or 3 rounds, and I'm starting to not get tired, but I'm breathing heavy, and I'm kind of warm. I feel good, and I think that's kind of similar to what you're doing when you. I'm guessing that's the condition that you're looking to be in. You're like not tired, but definitely feel like the groove is there.
Your heartbeat went higher a little bit, and sometimes I even like. If I have a blue belt or someone from my gym, I roll with them a little bit,
Yeah.
Just to kind of like feel the positions, feel the grip or whatever. But, you got to be careful with that because a lot of times because the adrenaline, you don't feel it, so you end up getting hurt or hurting your training partner. For my MMA fight now, one of my students, he probably got more beat up than the guy in the ring, because, I was so like excited in the locker room that we were just walking through stuff or whatever. I was kicking him, I was punching him. He's like, dude, I can't wait for the fight because I'm tired of getting beat up, But like I said, it's just you don't feel it, It's a lot of adrenaline, so you don't realize it.
Yeah,
a lot of times you break stuff in the competitions, you don't even feel it. I've seen guys breaking fingers, and they're like, "What? Broke my finger?"
Wow, just the adrenaline and the excitement of the event, you don't notice some things.
People ask if MMA hurts, it doesn't hurt, man. When you're over there, it doesn't hurt. Thank God I never, like my 5 MMA fights, I didn't get one scratch, like not one bruise. But I got punched, in the head, punch in the mouth, but it's like you don't feel it. It's there, but you don't feel it.
Wow, I'll have to take your word for that. I'm not real excited about getting punched in the mouth or in the face or nose.
No, it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely not fun. I wouldn't like to get hit, but it happens that you just I guess it gives you a shock on your body. I don't know what the adrenaline really does, but it's incredible. Yeah, you don't feel it.
You said you like to listen to music. What do you listen to?
I listen to everything, to rock, from rap to hip hop to techno to the dubstep now, right? I just like to listen to things that I listen more like a sound than the actual lyrics, you know what I mean? A lot of Brazilian songs too. It's just I think it just makes me focus a little bit more, than hearing like people all the time, trying to give you advices. I think the only people you should listen is your coach, or whoever is there to coach you. Cause, it's, especially when it's like black belt matches or whatever, everybody wants to say something and, you end up getting disconcentrated. Like, oh yeah, you should do this, should do that. And you don't want to lose focus. So I try to kind of like go to a corner and, put my hoodie on, warm up and just get ready,
Yeah, that's great advice. Listen to your coach. There's nobody that knows you better than your coach. And if they see you and you look like You know, if you're coaching somebody and they look like they need confidence, well, that's as a coach, your job is to give them confidence. If it look like that they're confused about maybe a technique that the opponent did in the first round, that maybe you should coach a little bit about that. But like, really trusting your coach and listening to your coach is a big deal, and it's a big step in, I think, maturity with competition. You know, being able to take that feedback and use it immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna tell about this parent. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't want to embarrass him.
Okay.
It's kind of like a funny situation, you know, regard to that, because I was at a Naga competition one time, and there was one of my kids. He's very, very good, you know, good guard and higher belt, kids but higher belt, and he was supposed to beat this kid like easily, you know. I mean, and I was just like,
yeah.
But what happened when he pulled guard? He pulled the kid to side control. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, so I was telling him, like, dude, face him, forearm against the throat and shrimp away from him, you know, trying to make him face the kid and to, you know, put his guard back. So he started looking at me and he started listening. He started, you know, doing the right thing, moving away from the kid and shrimping out and getting his hips in. So his father comes out of nowhere. And he goes, no, guillotine. But my kid was on bottom, side control, you know. So I guess, you know, like you said, the thing about listening to your coach and listening to the father. But I guess the kid is so used to listen to his father at home and, you know, and everything. He went for his father advice and he went for guillotine front side control on bottom, which is, I mean, you might can get it someone, but it's going to be 1 in a million. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the kid went to his back and took him out. And I just kind of like, I walk away. I got out of the chair and I just walk away. Then I was like, dude, what are you doing, man? I told you to shrimp, you know, get your guard back. You never go for guillotine or side control. And he's like, I'm sorry. I was afraid for my daddy. I didn't know what to do. So it was kind of like funny, you know. So again, you should always listen to your coach, man. That's the guy that knows you and knows your mistakes, and I mean, know your weaknesses and knows your strong parts of your game.
Yeah, that's great advice, and it's not always easy. Like that I could tell that kid he knew deep down that you had the right answer. That you, but he didn't want to disappoint his dad either. So he's like, well, this could work, and it wasn't the right move. But could you?
That's the other thing about kids, man. They lose a match, they don't care. They go to the gym next day, training. There's no such thing as, oh, I'm frustrated. Oh, I don't get better. You hear that from adults. You know, kids are just like I said, they enjoy it. You know, I don't know if I do anything differently with them as far as, you know, make them enjoy it, but not many of the kids come to me and like, oh, I hate because I lost. I tell them all the time, you should hate because you lose, because if you like the loss, you're not a champion. You know what I mean? But you can't be so rough on yourself. You know, competitions you win and lose. I've lost a lot, man. You know, so I tell them all the time, if you guys combine every single match that you guys lost, it doesn't even match what I lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's part of the game. When you lose, you get better.
We have a lot of blue belts listening and a lot of white belts who are getting close to that blue belt level. Can you maybe share with us what you were like as a blue belt and what you were doing?
Again, like basics. I've always liked to work on the basics. You know what I mean? I think if as advice for white belts and blue belts, just take your time, you know, really like learn things, how they work and why they work, and, you know, worry about how should I set up a move, you know, work on being relaxed, because things are accented. A lot of people skip steps, you know, and when they get like higher belt, they catch up with them. Purple and brown belt, I think the main difference that people feel, it's from blue to purple. You know what I mean? And actually, blue to purple and purple to brown. Brown belt and black belt, it's a level difference, but the game, it's the same. You know, it's foot locks and there's, you know, it's a higher level. But, you know, like I talked about earlier, you know, nowadays white belts want to come to the gym and learn beating bolo, man. You know, without not knowing how to finish a cross-collar choke, how to finish a non-bar from mount, how to get out of mount. You know, how to get out of side control, how to get out of north-south. a couple, you don't have to know much, but, you know, basic self-defense, you know, how embarrassing someone slap you in the face and you don't even know how to defend it. You don't even know how to avoid that. You know, what are you going to do? You're going to pull beating bolo when the guy slap you in the face in the street? So I think, like, my advice that I would give to white belts and you know, blue belts is really take your time. Don't try to rush things, because, as you know, it takes a long time to be a black belt. So why spend this time with things that you can learn as a high purple belt, as a brown belt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people skip steps, and it's frustrating, you know, because it's not just frustrating for you to see as an instructor, but it's frustrating to see as for them, you know, like the guy's gonna get like purple belt and brown belt, and they're gonna get like stuck. They're gonna be like, man, I don't know nothing after this, you know what I mean? I don't know basics. So it's a lot of times that's what takes people motivation away too.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I think you'll help people who are feeling stuck who realize that that's a normal feeling, and that it will go away, and you'll continue to get better. I mean, that's just part of growth.
And I think you should really, like, you know, understand that you're gonna have frustrations in jiu-jitsu. Sometimes people are too rough on them. They're like, oh, I'm never gonna be good at this, and you know, you're gonna have bad days, many, not just one. I tell my students all the time, man. In Brazil, I used to, like, you know, get out of the gym, and then I used to have to walk about 15-20 minutes to go to the bus stop, and then from the bus stop, I used to pick up the bus and go like 45 minutes an hour standing, you know, because the bus was like packed. So when I used to leave the gym for that walk, I was already like super tired from the training. You know, you have to go standing on the bus with a bunch of people, you know, people coming from work, and, you know, it's like a crazy busy. And then by the time you get home, your elbows don't even bend. I couldn't even take showers, you know, because my elbows like so beat up from arm bars and everything. And, you know, there was days, man, that was like so frustrating. It was like, man, and for me even more, because I always put that pressure on myself. I was like, man, my daddy's the red belt, my brother's a black belt, I gotta be good, you know. But I think that, you know, a lot of training partners from my time is still training. They're still like, you know, they're very good, but a lot of guys just quit. And I think what made me better than a lot of the guys was consistency. You know, it didn't matter what it was, I was there. Just like, you know, man, I don't care. I want to learn this. You know what I mean? And my daddy and my brother always treat me just alike or even worse than their students. You know, they never gave me like special treatment. I never had like, you know, oh, I'm going to teach you private classes on the weekends. You know, never had that. I was a normal student, you know. And I've always trained at the same place. Never had to go to another gym to learn, you know. Because I'm gonna fight Buchecha or Rodolfo, I'm gonna do a training camp at whatever. You know, with the same guys, you know what I mean? And I didn't even plan on, you know, fighting Rodolfo, Buchecha, or whatever. You know, so it's one, I think it's another thing too, you know, that nowadays is just people don't have loyalty anymore. You know, I think one thing that's gonna make your jiu-jitsu good, it's your loyalty. Because when you have someone that you are loyal to them, you hope and obviously they will be loyal back to you. So as an instructor, when you know your student's loyal to you, you're going to do whatever to make them better. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I've seen many times instructors that they like their students, but they don't teach them everything because they're like, man, I think this guy's going to be like a penalty. You know, this guy's going to like change teams one day or whatever. So if you have the confidence on the student and the student have confidence on the instructor, that person only going to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Guybson, if somebody wants to come train with you,
I would do anything to make my students better than me. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's a big statement for a coach, and just having that mindset that you want your students to get better than you, and you're really putting yourself into their training. That's great.
Yeah, it's you know, it should be your goal. If you're always trying to be better than your students, try to be like how we call, you know, the Mad King or whatever. Yeah. You're not doing any favor to anyone. You're not, you know. And I tell my students all the time too. Those guys, you know, like they have a lot of respect for me,
but I don't boss them around. I don't walk on the streets and say, oh, I'm your black belt, do this for me or whatever. I'm a normal person. Those guys are like, matter of fact, they're paying me for a service. You know what I mean? That's how I think. So might as well do my job right and make the guys, really enjoy the place and really, appreciate what we do. That's all I tell my students. The monthly payment, nobody gets rich on jiu-jitsu. Unless you're selling belts online, or I think those guys eventually going to get rich. But, you're not going to be rich off jiu-jitsu. You pay your light bills, you pay taxes, you pay this, you pay that. On the end of the month, you don't have much, So I tell my students, what pays me, it's not the monthly payment, it's the loyalty, the discipline, the respect, what those guys bring to our team, how they go to the competition, they wear our Phoenix, logo there, and they represent it. So I think that's what a lot of people are missing out. People are just, profit, and they don't build a family, they don't build a team. We have about 150 students in our school. Everybody's like family, man. Everybody's like one for the other. If anything happens with a family member, everybody goes there and try to help. People there, that we barely know, it comes to the gym and everybody wants to help. So it creates like an environment that you don't have. Sometimes you don't even have in church. You know what I mean? So I tell people, it's a blessing to be able to be around that, surrounded by those people,
Yeah. Like you were saying, some gyms and cultures, it seems like profit, but it seems like you are focused more on people, and you'll make enough money to live a happy and good lifestyle, but focusing on people instead of profit is a way to feel good about it.
I'm not a guy that I'm like driving a brand new car, I'm not a guy that I'm partying on the weekends, you know what I mean? So my money goes to invest in the gym. That's my main, that's our house. And I tell everybody, I'm not doing this because, I want to have a business venture, or I'm not doing this because I want to try something to make money. This is my life, man. Jiu-jitsu, my gym, it's my temple, you know what I mean? Yeah. So anything goes to that. And, I people that come and, enjoy the atmosphere, they're the same. A lot of times people come to me, they're like, oh, what do you need for the gym? Well, how can I help? Because they feel like that's their home too, And as soon as you have that environment, you don't have to worry about money because, it's money. It's a material thing. It goes away. The confidence, the loyalty, the discipline that those guys have, you can't pay it. I've been in gyms. They're like, oh my God, like millions of dollars of investment, and it's not such a good atmosphere. We have like a little facility, and everybody's there for everybody. Yeah. And I think another thing is this Southern hospitality too. I think it's another thing that plays into it. People are very, very nice around here.
Yeah, that's a great place to be. And if somebody wants to come there and train with you and see your gym, how would they do that?
They can visit us at any time, and we have classes mornings and evenings every day, P&O gear on the week. And we're, like I said, Monday to Saturday. We're in Columbia, South Carolina, on 6169 St. Andrews Road. And it's, I'm there. I teach every class. We have 13 jiu-jitsu classes for adults every week. And we got 6 kids classes and kickboxing class. So it's, every day. And like I said, I teach every day, 5 classes a day. And, I really enjoy it, man. It's the best job in the world.
That's great. And the website, is it SpartanAcademyMMA.com?
Yes.
Okay,
SpartanAcademyMMA.com.
Great.
There's also a Facebook page, people that want to stay updated with the stuff that we are doing. And if you guys are ever in South Carolina, anybody can just come and visit, man.
That's great. And I appreciate you keeping your doors open for people who are traveling through and want to come visit and train with you. Do you have any sponsors you want to thank?
Mainly I would like to thank Zorba's. That's, the restaurant, Greek and Italian restaurant here in town. They have the best food, man. That's I tell everyone that comes to South Carolina, one, come train with us, and two, go eat at this place, you know. And there's also Move Fitness, which is a former Ghost Gym here in town. A friend of mine owns it. He's one of my blue belts. And, you know, they're always supporting me, and that's what I do, all my physical training, you know. There's also Heavy Rollers, which is a jiu-jitsu fighting brand, and Vinnie Clark, my graphic designer, and SVG Digital, which is the marketing media for us. So it's you know, those guys, they help me out a lot. So I'm very thankful, you know.
Oh, that's great. And we'll put links to those and in your website and your Facebook page on the show notes. Guybson, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and look forward to watching you in the new year and seeing what happens.
Byron, thank you so much, man. It's such a pleasure, and I hope everyone have a great new year, and hopefully to have better results this year, better than this, you know, 2015, which was I think the best year for me, man, as far as competitions and all that. So I'm praying I'm going to be working hard for 2016 and be even better, you know.
All right. Looking forward to that.
I would like to thank Guybson Saw for taking the time out of his day to talk to us and our listeners here, so we can all learn something. But what I got most out of it is the basics, and it seems like that's the focus of our show, basics and consistency. But, you know, he just focuses on the basics. The people he trains with, he doesn't have an all-star cast to train with. He trains with his students, and he's such a high-level guy. Like I said earlier, he has submitted both Jeff Munson and Hector Lombard with the basics, with a rear naked choke. Here's a guy who just stays consistent, really works on his basics, trains with his own group of guys, his own students, and he is that high of a level person. So stick to the basics.
Yep, you will go far in a reliable path, I think. I mean, you could do something crazy and weird, and it might work, but just like, I guess it's like playing the lottery. Like, usually the basics are the safe bet. The basic is like the bank, and the crazy stuff is more like the lottery. Does that make sense?
Speaking of the lottery, if you don't hear from either Byron or I next week, one of us probably won the $900 million or $1 billion lottery. So if you don't hear from us, or if there's not a show out next week, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, but you know, this whole theme of consistency, you know, at the beginning of the podcast with the quote and the article, and this is one consistent podcast, Gary.
It is one consistent, and even though, to be honest, I was just joking. As much as we love jiu-jitsu, if I won the $1 billion lottery, I'd still be here next week.
Oh,
I'd
man!
Like, hey, Byron, what time you want to record? But I'd probably be recording somewhere in the mountains in a cabin that I just bought, but instead of Wichita, Kansas. But I would still be recording.
Well, honored, Gary, that I would still be getting a little bit of your time. You probably have, it sounds like you might have slightly better odds than me, but not really much different, because I don't have a ticket.
Well, don't worry, Byron. If I win, you win.
Oh, man. It's on the record here.
Yep.
I'll just be so happy for you for that's how I win. It's just my pure joy. You'll probably donate some more mats to me.
Yeah, I'll give you my used mats, so you'll be all set.
But she's already done that once before, so.
Have I given you some mats?
I've got. Don't tell nobody, but I have some grappling mats at the fire station, courtesy of Gary.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So.
Yep. See, I do good deeds every now and then. Hook up the old Wichita Fire Department.
Yep, all the firefighters I train with, they got the basics down a little bit there, and they all. I really like showing them the knee across the stomach or knee on the belly with pinning the hands to the chest as a good way to maintain situational awareness and control of a patient that may be a little unruly without doing any actual damage. So done it a couple of times, and my guys all know it, and they'll be able to do that. I'm confident. So it's really we don't really do a whole lot of submission stuff. We do some positional stuff, and I also have taught them how to get up, you know, should they be put down and they could, you know, get away. They wouldn't get wailed on for too long. But it's kind of funny, you know, I mentioned training with the guys at the station. I didn't realize that I was like by far the smallest guy until we got on the mat. Nobody, I mean, they're all like 230 pounds and over 6'2", and I'm like, man, these guys are monsters.
Well, it's only going to make you better, Byron.
I guess, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I'm surprised, though, you didn't stick with the basics, teaching in the basics, like flying triangles and arm bars right off the bat.
Yeah, those are, that's next week.
Okay.
Next week,
okay. As long as you're going to teach them.
They got to know that stuff. That's the most important thing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
You know what is another, like maybe not the most important thing, but that's usually breakfast is the most important thing. But after that is a 5-star review that we get from our listeners.
Yes, definitely. Hook us up with a 5-star review on iTunes. Send us an email to bjjbrick@gmail.com or message us on our Facebook page and let us know that was you. And the funnier the better. And if you live in the United States, we'll get you out a BjjBrick gi patch. Not the carrear gi patch Byron was talking about earlier, but the old, the famous and ever popular BjjBrick gi patch.
Dude, the carrear gi patch is a good idea. You could have a different color patch per belt that you are, and I don't know. I'm sure that like the blue Care Bear is different than the purple Care Bear, like what they care about. But it's all good, and
it's all good in the hood.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's in the Care Bear hood, man. You got to be careful.
Care Bear hood. That's a bad place. You better know your basics.
Yep, that's right. I am really excited about next week's show.
Next week's show, we have a 2-part show, Tim Sled's Taboo. And I know you guys have probably all listened to our previous interview with Tim Sled. It was so good, we brought him back, not just for one more show, for 2 more shows. So definitely don't miss next couple weeks.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. If you missed the Tim Sled interview, he's like he's very analytical. He's good at explaining things. And he's
just very intelligent.
Yeah, and he explains his thoughts about jiu-jitsu and systems building, and instead of just learning random moves, he wants to build a system and get that for you and have that be your foundation and like great. His other interview was also a 2-parter. So this one coming up next week, we're going to talk about some like taboo topics like washing your belt and the history of belts in martial arts in general and like a gauntlet, whipping people with belts. Yep. It's not all belt related, but what to do if you want to leave a gym, how to do that properly and what to do if your instructor's mad at you for leaving and what are some good reasons and bad reasons to leave. So.
Yep. And the ever popular, what happens if you run into a fake black belt? So, yeah, stuff. And we're talking about how, he's very analytical, very intelligent and, thinks, I don't know, I think sometimes a little differently the way he explains stuff. It just makes so much sense. But both the times we've done interviews with him, we didn't plan on 2 parts. It just, just kept morphing into even a better show. So both of them turned into 2 parts. So definitely don't want to miss the next couple of weeks. Yep,
absolutely. Gary, where can somebody connect with us?
You can connect with us on social media. Facebook is our biggest one there, BjjBrick. And we're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. Let's don't forget YouTube. We are now putting all of our shows on YouTube. So check us out on YouTube.
There we go. We got lots of stuff. And I was reviewing our Facebook policy, or not Facebook, our Facebook page, like a year in review thing, and we responded to 100% of the messages we received on our Facebook fan page, Gary. And I think the average time was like 20 minutes. So if you really want to get a hold of us, one of us will get you back pretty quickly, unless it's, a little middle of the night, and that slows us down and brings it to 20 minutes opposed to like 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, and we did a lot better than we actually planned. Our goal was to respond to 1 out of every 100 people within 3 weeks. So we really destroyed our goal. So give ourselves a pat on the back.
Absolutely. But Gary, I'd give you a pat on the back, but at this time of recording, you're a little bit further away from my arm's reach. So.
Yep. And hopefully next week, after I win the Powerball, it could be a little bit farther.
Well, you could fly me in and we could record it in your built-in studio.
That's what we'll do. We'll build a studio.
There we go.
Yep.
Studio with mats, and it will be like Budo Jake, man.
Yeah, yep. If we can only be like Budo Jake.
Man, sweet possibilities only if Gary could win the lottery.
Yep. So everybody cross your fingers for me. Even though by the time you listen to this, it'll already be over.
That's true. So, Gary, Good luck. I'm the one that can tell you that, and it still be active. But this is the part of the show that I think it brings me quite a bit of joy is to talk about Gary's audiobook he's been working on. I've been tempted to do a Care Bear themed one, but I really couldn't get that figured out in my head that well.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
But Gary, it's going to be great once you get this audiobook put out because it's really going to be a way to get more information out to the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always good to get information out to the people.
So this book you're working on and spent countless hours of researching and just experience in the streets would be it's called The Dark Side of Facebook Fights. Getting down and dirty. So most people don't realize that Gary has been in quite a few Facebook fights and he's pretty good. So I'd like to hear a little bit of advice about some of these Facebook fights and how you've survived and how you were able to carry on.
Well, the biggest piece of advice I could give to somebody who's going to get in Facebook fights, set up a fake profile. I'm telling you, a fake profile, you can get in fights with anybody and they don't know who it is. So, number one advice, set up a fake profile and mess with everybody possible, but don't let anybody know that you set up that fake profile. And nobody's going to be able to find out who you are, where you're at. So as long as you're witty and you have a lot of free time on your hand, you're probably going to win those Facebook fights. So fake profiles, please.
Any tips for the fake profile about what type of person to be?
You could be a little bit of everything, but the hardest part when you start your fake profile is trying to get friends so that people will believe you. Because right off the bat, when you get friends, nobody will friend you. So what you need to do, you got to get different groups of friends too. But the one way I noticed to get the jiu-jitsu friends is as soon as you find out like there's a tournament or MMA fights that somebody's getting ready to, let's say there's a tournament this weekend. Post on your Facebook page, ready for Naga, ready for AFG, ready for Pan Ams. And then put that in there, a little bit before that, put how you've been training a couple times a day and you're ready for it. And then friend all the jiu-jitsu guys in town. A lot of them will bite. Once you start getting those people to bite, then everybody else will bite. So then you get that set of friends. And then you just have to use that logic to get, different groups of friends. So, as long as you have a plan, you can make it work.
I have a great plan and how to get like a lot of friends come out of the woodworks for a fake Facebook profile. Win the lottery fakely on Facebook.
Man,
right?
That gives me an idea.
Well, I'm excited about this idea, but you don't have to win the $1 billion lottery. You could win the $20 million and just be super happy about this, and people are going to be your friend because they want a little chunk.
They want the money. Yeah, they want some money.
And then the people that you mess with will not be very good friends because they're just friending you for money.
Yeah, but all you do is you just send them over to somebody else's house. And you make sure you're there to record it from across the street.
There you go. This is a good idea. Gary, I'm excited about this audiobook. It's really going to help. This
one I think I might really publish.
Yeah, I really am interested in the details of some of these fights. Are they keyboard fights or are they going to be actual confrontations? I would imagine.
Oh no, it's keyboard warrior.
Yeah, those are the toughest kind.
Yeah, some of those guys are really tough on the keyboard.
Yep. So good times as always, and as soon as Gary gets the artwork worked out for this book, it's going to go it'll go live. So stay tuned for that.
Yep. So definitely check it out.
Yep. Speaking of stay tuned, we'll catch you guys next week with our highly controversial episode, Taboos with Tim Sled Part 1. And as always, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.